Kind of talking about it. We checked on the other horses, and all of a sudden I shine the light, and there's just eyes.
We're both like, whoa!
And he just stared at us.
He didn't even say hi or anything. He was just looking at us.
And he probably watched us for probably 5 minutes?
Yeah.
We kind of like saw him, and then we kept checking on the horses, and then we walked over to him, and the whole time he just stood there.
Yeah. We were like, if we don't shine the light on him, he's not there. So Eli, your first mule ride was with us, and you were 20 years old when you first rode your first mule?
Yep.
Dude, what took you so long?
I don't know. I just never had the opportunity to, hop on a mule and ride it around.
Yeah? You guys ranch on horses?
Yeah, just straight horses. I mean, we got some ponies, but...
Stingray?
Yeah, good old Stingray.
I like Stingray.
Kit Kat.
I don't think I've seen Kit Kat.
Yeah, Kit Kat. Yeah, he's a work in progress.
Is he shorter or taller than Stingray?
Shorter.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's like a fourth a day horse.
Yeah.
Dude, so, yeah, you came on that cattle drive with us. You rode old Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard you had a little accident on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the video. He was standing up on this little ledge on the mule, and the calf just runs right in front of the rock, and Red looked down at it and backed up. Red fell off the rock. It was pretty good. It might make the video.
That's pretty awesome.
I don't know.
I will say he fared better on his first ride with a mule than the intern fared.
Very true. We might have him on for 10 seconds. He's giving us a look over there.
That happened to me.
So I think we talked about it on the podcast already, but the first day we brought the intern out, he seen Brett almost die on a mule. Brought him straight from sea level up to the tallest point in our mountains. Just about.
Had to get him used to that elevation.
Mm-hmm. When you went on that cattle drive with us, that wasn't the first time you've met us. The first time I met you was on the Arizona Strip. And that was fun. We made 4 videos out of that trip. We had a ton of content. Like, it was just freaking the Wild West.
How many
there.
TikToks so far?
I don't know, but I have my biggest TikTok ever come from the Arizona Strip. It's still getting views. It's almost at 8 million views right now. It's crazy.
Holy crap.
It's weird to think that there's that many people out there who've seen your stuff. Like 8 million? You can't even wrap your head around that. Look who it is. Oh my gosh, look who it is.
Get your mic and jump on, boy.
Man, late as always. Showing up after all the work's done.
Of course. You know me.
Dude,
You know me.
you used to rope with the intern, didn't you? Team rope.
Yep. Old
Sadly.
Brett.
Hey, I did think you guys won a little money, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, we did pretty good.
We won some money. We got second place in the average.
You better plug his mic in.
Long story short, we invited ourselves out to the... No, you invited
I invited
yourself,
myself.
and then you
And
invited
then I was
me.
like, hey, Tyler, I know a place you can get some great content, and we will have a ball.
Well, and you were telling me how cool these guys were.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, you're going to love these guys. We got to go out there and get some content.
Basically, like, when I work cows with most people, they get a little worked up when things go south. These guys, they do not care. They're just like, whatever.
Rodeo blows up in their face. They're just like, whoa, would you see that?
They're like, well, let's keep it safe, fellas, but that was awesome.
We just got to be lucky we got a Kyle on hand.
Hey, we'll get into that,
Punchy son of a gun.
to say the least.
Okay, so our trip down to the Arizona Strip started like every other trip we've had. Late nights and driving through freaking no sleep.
With some hot wings.
And the hot wings. Every time we pass B-dubs, we got to stop in.
We don't have one within 3 hours is the closest one, so we got to get it when we can.
Oh, yeah. Like, we always used to eat it at college, and now we've moved home, and there's no B-dubs around, so we've been cut off.
You got the store-bought from Walmart.
The gas station.
The gas station.
Okay, so how long of a drive was it to the Arizona Strip for us? Do you remember?
It's probably about 4.5 to 5 hours.
So it was 4 hours to St. George, right?
Yeah, and then another, hour and a half, 2 hours from there?
Yeah, about 2 hours.
Ooh,
Oh
we
my
were
gosh.
out there.
What time did we leave? It was afternoon, wasn't it?
Yeah, we left in the afternoon. We did have enough time to stop at IFA and get supplies. And
Freaking Corby and Ife, remember that?
yeah, he's shaping hats.
He was shaping. He's like, I'm gonna make some little kid so happy. He started shaping hats, dude. Everywhere we go, he always does that. Same with his older brother. We were in Walmart once. They went over to the straw hats and shaped every single one of them.
Yeah, they
And
do
then-
stuff like that.
Yeah, Corby was wearing some fur coat, like a pink fur coat, and just strutting through the store. And like the little chickens, the little chicks, he'd just pick them up and walk around with them.
As there's all these signs that say, "Please do not touch." Let's just say we can't take him anywhere.
No, dude, we can't unless the camera's rolling. Then I'll take him places.
Unless the camera's rolling and we're 2 hours from anywhere.
Yeah. He doesn't do good in the big cities. We roll up to St. George. You guys were probably an hour behind us or something. That's why we had time to go eat and do all this stuff.
We meet up, and we made the mistake of giving these boys the walkie-talkies.
Dude, biggest mistake ever. Biggest mistake. And it was like driving 7 hours in the car with your little 8-year-old
Are we there
brother.
yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Except it was worse because they could talk to the other car too.
Yeah.
I cut a lot of that out of the video, but the whole way on that dirt road, we had no cell service, and the whole time we just heard, come in, mate. Can you hear me over here?
Oh, mate, I'm getting arrested, mate.
Mate, I'm swerving all over the road. The whole way, man.
Yeah. That ain't gonna work.
You might have to switch headphones.
You might have to trade with Eli.
Really, gotta get that little.
Give us one reason why we should unmute you for being late.
Sorry.
Did you hear something?
I didn't hear nothing.
Oh yeah, we gotta bring on the intern for his 10 seconds of fame. We were just talking about his how Eli's first ride on a mule was way better than his first ride on a mule.
And Cage's mule was broke, and Red was maybe kind of halfway broke.
Yep, he rode my wife's mule.
Nothing bad happened to me.
I don't know. Our first pack trip, I seen you pucker your cheeks a couple times.
More than pucker his cheeks. Might have filled his drawers.
He was grabbing saddle leather.
Hey, it's all right to fill your britches a couple times.
Okay, so Brett didn't come on the Arizona trip with us because he was slacking.
I had
Just like
finals
tonight.
that week.
Hey,
So did Eli.
hey,
That's all I'm
we
saying.
all took them early, so.
Well, I didn't know about the trip. No one on the team told me about it until Eli a day before. He's like, "Hey, are you coming down to the strip with everyone?" I'm like, "Oh, well, that's my first invite."
Dude, so Daniel, we were talking about this earlier. Daniel invited himself,
I invited
and then he
myself.
invited everybody else.
Yeah, Zane was probably a little bit mad at me, but
Zane was probably mad at us the whole trip.
probably.
Probably a lot mad at us.
I just like walked straight up to Eli. I was like, "Hey, I'm coming on this trip, whether you like it or not."
Well, Zane comes to me up at Jackpot's lawn, and he sounded like he liked you guys down there. He sounded like you guys were a bunch of good hands, and he was
That's
excited to see the videos.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
Some
hope
of the
so.
other hands down there, one night they came up to us and they're like, "You guys are being really loud."
You guys were loud.
We were sitting around the campfire,
it
like
was-
12 of us.
It was midnight, and Corby's just like popping off. Pop, pop.
Yeah.
Wait, shooting gun?
You can't say the G word.
We're not talking about that, but
There's some.
She was popping off jokes.
popping off something.
My dad was pretty happy you guys came out because we could have never got it done without you guys and made it, as easy as it was.
Dude, you make me feel so special.
I mean, it
Hits me right here.
It's pretty good.
it wasn't easy. We had a whole bunch of problems, but it was a lot. We had a lot more success because of the hands we had.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, there's a whole army of us out there, that's for sure.
Eli is the nicest guy I know, so tread lightly when he gives you a compliment. I'm joking.
Yeah, but I mean, Zane's a hand, so if he
Yep.
gives you a compliment, you take it to heart.
Yep.
Exactly.
So, okay, Brett, let's catch you up.
Okay, catch me up.
Like always, just like on the California trip, the podcast before this one, we're leaving freaking with only a couple hours of sleep, and we're arriving late at night. I guess on the California trip, we went all night. When we came down to the Arizona trip, we left in the afternoon and then drove all night.
We had some time for B-dubs in between. And
Yeah. But our road trips are always crazy because we're just cramming to get everything done before we could leave because we got videos to edit. These guys had finals they had to finish.
Yep.
So, like always, it's
We were-
crazy.
We
It's a circus.
pulled the Christiansen boys out of school. Checked them out. Went, hey.
Yeah. So we show up that night, And we roll up. It's late. And we've been listening to these guys on the walkie-talkies the whole way down. His little brother and his little brother-in-law, dude, just chirping away.
Yeah, it was not too good. And the saddest part is they sat right next to each other in the truck.
So they were just trying to annoy you guys.
They were awful.
Well, here's how bad it was. We had the radio on, and then we're like, okay, let's just turn it off. So we turn it off. An hour later, we're like, I bet you $10 they're still talking. Flip it on. Oh, mate, hey, do you hear me back there? You still hear me? The whole time.
Yeah.
For some reason, they feel like they're down under when they go out to the Arizona Strip.
Whenever Corby talks on the walkie-talkie, he goes to the down under.
Oh, it's always when he's talking on the radio.
Whenever he's on the radio, he's down under.
Man's got a lot of personalities to it. That's for sure.
Okay, so, I mean, nothing too crazy happened that first night, did it? Other than Eli sleeping in the...
I mean, we helped. Well, we'll get into that.
Okay.
But we helped them set up their tent, which was all right. But then we busted out our canvas cutters.
We didn't need to set up no dang
There was
tent.
no tents. So
We had a freaking canvas cutter.
You want a 2-minute setup for camp? Buy yourself a canvas cutter. Eli, let these folks know what you purchased at Walmart probably 2 hours earlier that you were supposed to sleep in.
So, I did set up the tent, but we went to Walmart to get stocked up on stuff. I bought a machete, as in the video, chopping that wood, and I also bought a hammock. And so, on the package of the hammock, it's got like the poles to set it up that it literally hovers on the ground. I was like, hey, this looks pretty nice. Spent like $50 on it. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be sleeping good tonight. I'm gonna be sleeping good on this trip. So we go all the way there, and we set up the tent and everything, and I take all my bags in, and I open the bag, and it's only the hammock. There's no poles. Literally no poles. No, not even any rope to tie it up.
Question: could you not find 2 trees close together?
I mean, I did, but the freaking trees snapped on me.
There's only little cedar trees out
And I
there.
didn't have a strong enough rope either.
So I had an extra cot because I ended up sleeping on the flatbed.
Yep.
So that first night, Eli over there borrow my cot, and he didn't bring a blanket. So he was using his hammock as a blanket.
I have so many questions.
No, I did bring a blanket, just a little small, tiny blanket though, a little tiny one.
So, you realize, like in hammocks, it's kind of breezy, it's cold,
Yeah.
and you only brought one blanket to sleep
Well,
with.
I was gonna put it inside the tent, so there's no breeze in the
You're
tent
gonna put your hammock inside the tent?
because I had the poles to set it up.
I feel like that's bad
I have
juju.
so many questions.
That's got to be bad juju, man.
So the poles came
Where do we
together.
begin?
The poles came together and made it so you don't have to tie it on a tree. You could just tie it to the poles.
Yeah.
So it's like a little stand for it.
It's like those
But-
ones you see in the city girl's backyard.
I can send you. I'll send you a picture. That you can show it. You have a
Okay.
visualize it.
Okay, you lost me there, Eli. That's strike one.
I know what he's talking about.
But
How big was this bag? Was it like one of the little ones, and you thought there was poles in there?
No, it wasn't.
It was like
tiny.
it was like a whole
big
box.
bag.
It was a box, so it was
Yeah.
false advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
sue him.
So yeah, I felt bad, so I lent him my blanket. So he had this tiny thin blanket, my bigger blanket, and then a hammock on top of it.
Yeah, didn't have my canvas cutter.
Didn't have a canvas cutter.
I'm not gonna lie. I had 2 blankets and a sleeping bag.
And a canvas cutter.
Tyler's always like
Cold
that,
out there
though.
at night.
Yeah, it would be super hot when you'd first fall asleep. You'd fall asleep with nothing on, and you'd wake up in the morning with all your stuff on.
Well, and we went out in the spring. It was just winter was just starting to get over, so it got pretty dang cold.
Mm-hmm.
So halfway through the night, Casey found us.
Dude, that was crazy. We had no service. Daniel sent him a pin on the GPS, but Casey didn't know how to run the app we were using or anything. We're like, okay, well, I hope he makes it. Because even we kind of got lost on the way out, and we
Yeah.
knew where we were going. It's not like up in our mountains. It's
Yeah.
pretty like good dirt roads, and there's signs everywhere telling you where you're going. you just hit this little dirt road and you just keep going for miles, hours and hours.
And then you take like side trails that don't even look like they're supposed to be roads.
Like it'll connect to another road and you'll be like, dude, that just looked like a 4-wheeler trail.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, like, there's no service out there. You like lose service the first 30 minutes of the drive, and it's like a 2-hour drive. So you got like an hour and 30 minutes that you got to find out where you're going.
So it's a wonder how Casey found you
Oh,
guys.
definitely.
Like there should have been no way he found you guys that night, but he did.
We gave him directions and we prayed.
Sent up a couple smoke signals for him. He's an awesome kid, man.
Yeah.
I forgot Casey went with us.
He was a hand. That was another one of the persons that I just invited.
We were inviting everybody and anybody.
Halfway through the night, though, Casey showed up and I looked over. Eli was gone.
Did you get cold?
Yeah, so I remember him coming. He was like, what did he say? He was like, guys. And I was like, who the heck's this dude?
Yeah.
And then, or what happened? I don't remember. Did he like wake Daniel up or
Yeah,
something?
he kept saying, Daniel. Daniel.
Bro.
And I sleep like a rock. So then I was just like, Casey!
And that's when I woke up and I look up at Casey's like, hey, bro. But okay, so the next morning, the first thing I got for the vlog that day, Daniel rips cheek in his little brother's face. Nate's okay.
Wakes up to some pink eye.
I had the greatest idea ever. Before we figured out what a canvas cutter was, I went to the freaking Army surplus. They had literal body bags.
Probably
Like-
used.
I don't know, man. There's a good chance. And it zips up all the way, waterproof. Throw a sleeping bag in it. You're going to be, it's like a canvas cutter, but not a canvas cutter.
No, that's good. No, that's good.
It was really terrible. But we made his little brother sleep
works.
in it.
It works for the interns.
Old master.
And that thing doesn't breathe. Like you sweat in it and all the moisture stays in there.
It's on your face. It's just dripping.
Oh, yeah.
I know how it goes.
But anyway, yeah. I found old Eli the next morning cuddling with a dog in the front seat of the truck.
Yeah.
You brought a dog in for Ward? You're like, dude, something's got to happen. I've been there, though. I have been there. It's all hands on deck, man.
Brett gets intimate with dogs.
That's a story for a different podcast.
Brett's got to know a dog named Badger pretty good.
Pretty dang well.
And no, that's not the reason he went to jail either.
All right, finish what you guys were saying.
Oh my gosh, that wasn't even the funniest night. We found him in the truck. We'll get to that later. The next one was so much worse.
Didn't you say the dog stole one of your blankets that night?
I know it kept my feet warm. Just was like right there on my feet. I was like, thank goodness.
We opened that door up and we're like, "Ooh, it's musty in here."
I don't even have to start the truck for heat, you know?
Yo, were you starting the truck though in the middle of the night?
No.
No, because I was gonna say I never heard anything. I was out. Besides Casey when he woke us up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the next day was the big gather. Kind of tell everybody what you got going on out there.
So when we take our cows down there, we usually take them in the fall for the winter, so you know the cows can calve out there, and we don't have to deal with feeding them and taking care of them throughout the winter. So we take most of our herd down there, and we come back in the spring to round them all up and bring them back, and you know, take them off, or you know, what would you call it, neuter? Or wait, no, wrong words. Wrong words. What do you call it when you like
Castrate.
what?
Breadify.
No, when you like separate the calf from the cow.
Wean.
Wean.
Yeah, wean the calves. Well, we, yeah.
Close.
I call it nurturing. I call it neutering.
There's a little reference for you.
But we wean the calves out there too, and they're strong enough by then to, you know, take care of themselves, and we can, you know, have them back for some of the high school rodeos for the people that want to break away or calf rope. So my dad is one of the main livestock contractors for high school rodeos and junior high rodeos in Utah.
So all those cows out on the permit, you use all those when they grow up, the calves.
Yeah, we use all them.
That's cool. I will say their permit out there is one of the coolest permits I've ever seen. It's different from our desert too, because you'll go out in our desert and it's like a lot of blue clay, not a ton of grass, like little clumps of grass.
Yeah.
Out there, you guys had surprisingly a ton of grass.
Yeah.
It blew my mind because we're not used to seeing that around. And it seemed kind of like the same terrain in a way, but just a lot more grass.
Yeah. They do have a problem with water, though.
Yeah, but they use it to their advantage.
They do use it to their advantage.
Yeah, tell us about the the springs you guys use and the ring tanks.
Yeah, so we got one big spring that we use, and there's not a lot of water out there. So this spring, we've got pipes that go up all the way into the spring where it comes out, and the pipes go all the way into these giant tanks that hold all the water. And that's where we keep all the water. And whenever we take our cows down there, we have someone stay down there and make sure, there's always water going in there. And someone down there to haul water to certain places where we don't have, pipes going to and stuff like that.
So in your upper corral, where there's not a live spring feeding it all the time, and you're having to haul water to it, do you have somebody stay down on the strip year-round and haul water? Or do you guys make the trip out there every once in a while and haul water?
We've got Kyle, old Kyle,
punchy son of a gun.
mentioned him about a while ago, but he lives right there in Kanab, so we have him go down there maybe like once a week when they're down there and haul water for a week, or not for a week, but on the weekends, and update my dad on how many calves or what the situation is with them and things like that.
That's pretty cool. For those of you who watch the video, you kind of know what's going on. I mean, we went to gather these cows. They had a bunch of cows already trapped in the ring tank because the way it's set up, they have the water in the center of the corral. And then what do you call the traps? The little gates they walk through and it closes them in?
The claws.
Yeah,
claws?
just like claws.
Yeah.
That's what we call them.
So they can walk in one side and push the gate open. And once they're in the corral, they're trapped. They can't walk back out of the gate, right?
Yeah.
'Cause it kind of works like this for those of you watching the video. They can push their way through, and then when they try to get back out, the claw just pushes closer together. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe we'll pull up a video of it, but it's kind of cool. Does it teach them to walk through fences, though?
I don't think so because they know that they're not connected. So, I mean, with a fence, they're, either wrapped with wire or string and they can't really push through it. But with this, they kind of leave... How we do it, we leave a little bit of a opening,
Daylight.
so they can walk through it. And then if it's like that, then there's no way for them to push back out.
Okay. So, if they're just walking down a fence and they see a little bit of daylight, do you think just a little part of them's like, hey, I could probably just walk through this?
Yeah. And I mean, they're trying to get that water that we have in there, especially.
Well, and they are Corianis, so they can do whatever they want.
It honestly
Let's
doesn't
be real
matter.
here.
Dude, it was an awesome setup. So when we went to gather the next day, they already had half the herd trapped in there for water. And kind of a problem we did run into is some of the cows would walk in without their calves. The newborns, they'd leave them up in the hills. Not so much, but we found 2 calves in total that trip that were just kind of left out there. But before we pushed them anywhere else, all the tight-bagged cows, you'd just turn loose, right, to go find their calves?
Yeah, we kind of just keep the ones that, we have the pairs in the pen and then turn back out the ones that don't have pairs and round them up later on.
Cool. I mean, those are the only 2 downsides I've seen with the gates and the traps.
Yeah.
Other than that, they freaking work good.
It was awesome.
Amazing. Saved us so much time.
Do you have someone set up the claws before? Or are those claws set up all year round, or how does that work?
It's kind of hard to explain. If we were more intelligent, maybe
And
we could.
they've set it up to where it can be super open, or they can close it tighter.
Yeah.
So they're very.
So it can be open, so when they're just on the permit for the wintertime, they can walk back out.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
only when
Okay,
we're
okay.
wanting to round them up, we close them. But throughout the
And then
winter.
they also have gates around there. Those aren't the only ways in and out of the corral.
Okay.
yeah.
Speaking of those gates, I almost died one night because there's a rope tied over one of them.
The year before, we had cows jumping right there, so that's why they put the rope up.
Oh, yeah. Somebody's horse went under it and caught the rope, and I was standing right next to it, and it freaked out. I was like, ah! I had to get out of the way.
Should we kind of touch on how hard that... I guess we're still on the first day of the gather, so we'll talk
Yeah.
about that first.
Finish the first day.
That morning we all separated into like groups of 3 or 4. And we just went out looking for cows. And around this corral, there's just thick cedars where they like to kind of shade up and hide. And it's close enough to the water that they can just kind of hang out there.
They really can give you the slip in those cedars.
Dude,
They'll just go
so fast.
They'll just circle back on you, and you'll totally miss them.
Yeah, and the branches are like just tall enough that you can't get under them, but the cows can just slip under them. So when you go to chasing them, they just duck their heads and start weaving. It's so hard to stay with them. And like, what we need is some good dogs, probably. Those would have helped.
Or a couple of donkeys.
Couple miniatures.
So we gather them that morning. Dude, Kyle found a big shed, like a big deer shed. Around here, we don't have a ton of big deer, mule deer. Down there, we found some sheds, boy.
And that was the day that Byron stepped over that calf and didn't even see it.
Yeah, that was later that morning, kind of the last roundup. Dude, that was so funny because in the video, you just see him look down, and he doesn't even see the calf when he looks down, and it's right under his horse. He looks back up, takes a couple steps, and just goes, ah!
It looks like he does like a double backflip off his horse. He's like, whoa!
Dude, a lot of people thought he actually fell off. And I just kind of left it at that. I was like, this is funny.
So did he fall off or did he get bucked off?
No, just the camera fell off.
Oh.
But his head got freaking whiplash.
He's like 30 minutes before that, he was giving Corby crap, saying, "You're going to lose your GoPro."
Because Corby's GoPro was on the top of his hat, like barely hanging on. He was just getting that bird's eye view.
Bird's eye view of everything.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
speaking of that, Brett, Daniel's editing this video of us, and your GoPro's pointed at the sky most of the day.
I asked you if my angle was good, and you said yes.
You know what?
So is that on me or you?
You know how hard it is to check your angle?
I have video evidence, and he says, "You need to point that down a little bit."
I pointed it down.
What the heck is funny about that?
So let's talk about the cactus out there.
Just kidding, Brett.
Boy.
The choyas, is that what you call them?
The jumping
I
cactus?
think so.
The jumping cactus.
Oh, man. It's brutal, especially when you're on a colt.
Man.
I think I walked through like 10 of them, and I'd have to get off and start pulling needles from my horse's legs.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so we're going to talk about Kyle here for a second. That calf that spooked Byron, it starts running away, and Kyle ropes it, okay? And he freaking dallies down, but there's a choya. How do you say it?
Choya, I think they said.
Choya? Choya?
Koi?
Choya.
Choya. There's a cactus there.
Just call it cactus.
We call it the jumping cactus.
Cacti.
Jumping cacti. I get off my horse to go get this calf, and he's running all around, like calves do. And Kyle is just weaving and steering this calf and avoiding all the cactus. It was crazy.
Oh, man.
He's a punchy son of a gun.
That guy is a hand. He gets stuff done.
So then I go to hand this calf up to him. He just grabs it by the scruff of the neck and just lifts it onto his horse.
His horse kind of scared, too, at it.
We just look at each other. We're like, cowboy.
Cowboy.
He was cool. You guys got a freaking awesome hand out there.
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever feel jealous when he's around? Don't look at me like that. It was a good question.
No.
Does he make you feel inadequate?
Do you feel like you have to jack your truck up when he's around?
What?
You know what they say about men with jacked up trucks, right?
Yeah.
Brett should know he's got one.
I have a leveled truck. It's a leveled truck.
Doing the squat. Jacked up squat.
It goes for the same, jacked up trucks, live in Texas, same thing.
Same.
Should we get him on here for 10 seconds? His 10 seconds of fame.
Yeah, let's do 10 seconds to bring this podcast back on the rails.
Okay. Come defend yourself, intern.
We won't roast you.
Too hard.
I don't need to defend myself. Everyone knows me.
All right, his 10 seconds is up.
All right, there's
He
10
wasted it yelling at us across the room.
We'll roast him enough on this next video coming from the second channel.
Hey, speaking of interns, if you want to get roasted on this channel, make sure you DM me a video on my Instagram why you would make a good intern. Like we've said in all our other podcasts, separate yourself from everybody else. Make that video unique. And if you don't know how to ride, that's not a problem. We'll teach you how to ride, but you do need to, if you can't ride, you at least need to be able to run a camera. And if you can't run a camera, you at least need to be able to ride.
Or be good at Fortnite.
Do you know what we should do? Get everyone that is of the age of being an intern and have them all out here for an intern Olympics.
That would be sweet.
The winner stays.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
DM me if you want to apply for the Intern Olympics. Bronx and Donks on Instagram. Okay, let's get back on track here.
Back on track.
Let's go to the second day
I'll pull
now.
you out of that rabbit hole.
Okay. We're still on the first day. We get done gathering in the morning. That afternoon, Eli over here decided to be our guide for the day.
Nice.
I was like, hey, you guys want to go to a mine?
Dude, it was sketchy.
It was.
Let's
Yeah,
start off there.
I heard
It was a mine,
it was filled with man-eating bats.
to say the least.
Yeah, knocked my glasses off. So we get up the hill. It's on the side of the mountain.
We all had to. Basically, everybody had to jump off and push the fork.
It was freaking rugged.
We were pulling wheelies going up that hill.
Tires are flat.
They were, dude.
One
We were
of
in the
them was-
middle of nowhere with flat tires.
We had to balance on 3 tires because the one was flat.
We got 3 of us on it.
Yeah.
We're not small people.
We roll up to this mine. Eli's like, yeah, look, here's a mine car. And I hadn't really talked to Eli at this point much. Like, we kind of just said hello, small talk, you know, getting to know each other.
Hey, you're Brett's brother, right?
Yeah, that's right. So you two, so what my story was is that you two, being the people you are, instigated Eli to go deeper into the mine for a couple bucks.
Yeah, well,
For a shout out.
So what I was saying is we
Even worse.
yeah.
He was all for it.
Shout outs? Expensive.
True.
Bro. Get you a long ways. Expensive. We show up to the front of the mine. He's like, oh yeah, look, this is an old mining cart. There's some rails. He just kind of looks at it. He's like, all right, let's go. Daniel and I are like, no, we're going in there.
And we only had one flashlight. Tyler's iPhone.
He was almost dead too because there was no chargers out there.
And Eli had his 22 that looks like an AK-47.
We made him go in first.
Yeah. He was like, we got to scare whatever's in there first.
Yeah, and we were paranoid about rattlesnakes the whole trip because the previous year they'd run into a bunch of them. So we were paranoid. But little did we know, instead of looking down for rattlesnakes, we should have been looking up for bats.
I thought you were going to say falling rattlesnakes.
Well, the first one we seen, Eli was standing right next to it, like it was right here, and I was like, dude, Eli, there's a bat by your head. I've never seen a man drop to the floor so fast.
I was like,
Well, and we'd look around with our cowboy hats and it would like graze them on the ceiling.
We had them hit our hats as they'd fly over us sometimes. And then, sheesh. Yeah, we didn't want to take them off because they were protection. Like, it was too dark in there, so you didn't know when there was a wall in front of you. So you just let your hat crunch it.
We got to roll a clip of Eli's waddle.
Must have been a workout walking like that for. Oh yeah, so, you're like, how far? We asked you, how far have people gone in this thing? You're like, I don't know. There's this kind of this one turn we always make it to. Daniel and I were like, okay, we got to have the record. And in order to get the record, we had to get on our hands and knees and like crawl through places that have collapsed.
Oh, that's too scary for me. That's too scary for
The
me.
bats just got worse.
Yeah. And like as the walls started closing in, there was less room for the bats to get around you.
they're like flying like 2 inches above your head. Like,
Yeah.
zoom, zoom.
I will say Eli got the furthest one in there. There were no more foot tracks where we had gone, and
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, we didn't die from CO2 poisoning or whatever it is.
I was like,
get
going into
rabies
my
from the bats.
Wait, that's undetermined. Yeah.
That is undetermined. Rabies sets in a long time, which is actually really dangerous. My mom was saying the other day, you couldn't know if a bat scratched you, but you could still have rabies.
I thought it was like a 2-month thing when rabies sits in. Like it takes 2 months.
I think so. I'm not an expert.
I think we're in the clear, boys.
It's like COVID.
Let's call in the old doctor intern. How many months?
How many months till rabies sets in? Look it up, Jamie.
He said, I don't know Texas.
I don't know Texas. I don't know. They don't have rabies in Texas.
Just small Peters.
No, the rabies
All
are
right.
more intense in Texas. That's what he's saying.
It's rougher and tougher.
Hey, you had your 10 seconds. If you wanted to talk, you should have got on here.
So you guys made Eli go in the farthest,
Hey, he
risking his life and rabies. Did he get that shout out?
He told us he would be our tour guide.
He wanted to be a
for
good host.
The shout out.
Being a good host. All right, that's what
Yeah.
they would say.
That's how it goes.
Hey, you got the shout out.
I got
Alrighty,
the shout.
Follow Average Day Cowboy.
No, I just average cowboy.
What's it say?
I always
Read it
say
off.
average day
10 days to 2 years.
because it depends
10
on the
days to 2 years. You guys
Oh,
ain't out of the clear yet.
Out of the
day.
clear.
Oh, crap.
In 2 years, I probably don't want to be alive anyway. I turn around. They're like, we got to the point where we were so claustrophobic. We were all kind of like panicking. So Tyler gets right on my butt and is just shoving me out of this cave. And there were 2 bats that trapped us. So there was the opening, and it got really small at the opening, where you had to like get on your hands and knees and crawl. And there were just 2 bats camping there, and they'd fly at us and fly back. And so
You shall not pass.
and so finally, Tyler just starts shoving me out. We get out, and Eli just turns around and starts popping off his gun.
Well, first of all, we get out. We turn around. Eli's not out yet. We're like, dude, are you alive? We hear him just screaming in the mine still. We're like, he's the mine's problem now. Yeah, that was funny. What's that? You've been referencing Major Pain all night. If he in there, he ain't happy. What is that?
Yeah, when the bedtime story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pop, pop, pop. If he ain't dead, he ain't. If he's not dead now, he ain't happy.
Yeah. So we hop back on the 4-wheeler, start heading home. The tire is freaking about to pop off the rim at this point. Good old Kyle comes rolling up. He's got an air compressor in the truck.
Yes, sir.
He's got the air compressor in the back. He's got the 2 horses in the cattle rack.
Casey's sitting shotgun. Sup, bro?
So you guys get back to camp. What's the night's activities like?
Licking our wounds.
Yeah, we were singing campfire songs, roasting each other pretty much.
Keeping the other hands awake.
You got so mad at us the one night.
You guys are loud.
You guys are loud. Could you keep it down? We're trying to sleep. We were exhausted at the end of the day, mostly because we didn't get a whole ton of sleep the night before.
I woke up like this because I had a seatbelt on my back.
Yeah.
My back.
Oh yeah. We'll get the second night is the third night's the funniest about that. We'll get to that then.
All right.
I don't remember much about that night. I just remember hitting the hay.
Yeah, not a whole ton
We kind of
happened.
talked about the plan for the next day, and we were pretty stoked.
Yeah, the next day was branding day. We first thing that morning we go out, find a couple more cows together. Then we start separating the calves and the cows. And how many calves did we brand?
I think we might have branded maybe close to 50 to 80 calves. Or you think more? You
I'd
think
say-
more?
I thought like 10 or 15.
What?
Wasn't there close to like 100?
Yeah,
At
we'll
least.
just say 100. We branded close to
150.
150 calves. Literally, hands were full. We had to switch around every like 10 calves. We had to switch who was going in to rope the calves.
It was pretty fun.
So just your typical good branding day. Everything went pretty smooth. No
Okay.
wrecks.
I will say this, and we're going to address some haters later.
Yeah, I was
But-
about to say, can we address haters?
Dude.
On the branding subject, because you got hate.
But on
On
YouTube,
Instagram.
they defended him.
That's true.
That's good. But Instagram,
they
man,
hammered him.
Literally, death threats were sent to Tyler.
It was wild. Yeah, I was getting DM death threats. I posted a highlight reel of the branding session we had.
It was
And
sick.
yeah, people had a big problem with that. Here, you be pulling up some of the comments. We'll read
Okay.
a couple of them.
Okay.
But I had to delete a few of them. Like some of the death threats, I just took off. I left a lot of them there though, because people were kind of, arguing with each other in the comments, which is good for, views. So
My favorite one, my favorite hate comment was, "This is so unethical. The original Cowboys would have never done this." And then like 5 people got on and said, "This is the original Cowboy way."
yeah, okay. I'm gonna argue this a lot, but I think I'd say 90% of the people who have a problem with us and the way we do things, they're not like really educated
Right.
on what we do.
Right.
They just kind of assume they know everything without knowing pretty much anything. And they know how to do our jobs better than us. They know what's good for the animals. They know what's bad for the animals. And they've probably only seen a cow driving down the highway. Maybe not everybody, but 90% of people are uneducated on what we're doing.
I agree with you on that. I mean, I feel like most people are like, oh, horses are like the people with vaulting where they jump over the poles and English riding and all this crap. But, that's not even a quarter of how it really is.
And a lot of my comments too are like, hey, I didn't even know people still did this.
Right.
Like, they have no idea what's even going on. They don't know how their beef shows up on their plate.
Yeah.
They just think it magically appears there.
I would say the super haters are almost more like dedicated to the channel than your super fans.
They're the people that know the littlest and have nothing better to do in their life than shit on someone that has any type of success in their life.
The keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
Yeah, you told me about this the other day,
Yep.
and it's really interesting because I see it every day in my life.
Yep. Like, once you realize what it is, you can find it in a lot of places.
I've even caught
But-
myself doing it.
Yeah. So, kind of the gist of it is, and don't 100%, this isn't textbook, definition, but you learn a little bit about a subject. And when you learn a little bit about a subject, you think you know a lot about that subject. And people who learn a lot about something, they realize how much more there is to learn about that and how little they actually know. So if you only take the time to learn about something for just a second, you're going to think you know a lot about that subject. But the more time you spend learning on something, you're going to feel kind of dumb when it comes to whatever you're learning about.
And that is exactly why I don't like giving any training advice on the internet, because I feel like I'm inadequate and there's a lot better people for it. And so that's why when a lot of you guys ask for training advice, we kind of just don't say it.
Yeah. And then again, who wants to hear training advice from
A couple of
23-year-old?
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to the comments. This comment left a 17 replies underneath it. It fired people up.
Okay.
So it says, animals feel pain, they feel sadness, grief, stress, and scared. Being branded hurts like hell. I'm sorry to say it's not necessary to drag them like sacks of flour. It's also not necessary if you loved or care for your animals in any account consciously would not be able to perform these acts and let alone celebrate it. Sad, sad, sad.
Okay.
So this
first of all-
bitch knows nothing. Sorry.
So first off, let's talk about the alternatives to branding. You got freeze branding. And anybody know how to get rid of a freeze brand? Black spray paint.
Exactly.
And then the other one is ear tags. Anybody know how to get rid of ear tags?
Cut it out.
Cut it out. And then I guess you could earmark them. Maybe that's less cruel. It's easy just to make another mark in their ear.
Yep.
And then it's not your cow anymore.
Yep.
The best way and the most permanent way to mark your cows is with a brand.
Well, and they've talked about doing like GPS but most ranchers can't afford that.
Yeah, you're working with slim margins when you're ranching. A lot of times
Slim.
you're not even making
The
money.
cattle market's terrible.
Yep.
And they're not doing it because it makes them money. They're doing it because they love it and they have a passion for it.
So there's two methods of branding, the two big methods of getting cattle branded. And a lot of people say the calf table, where you run them through a chute and separate them from the mother for a long periods of time and run them to a table is the most ethical way, instead of roping and dragging them to the place where they need to be branded. What are your guys' 2 cents on that? This is a long discussion that we could get
Okay.
in later.
So
if you
first of
wanted to.
all, those comments on our Instagram, a lot of them were saying how abusive it was to drag the cattle to the branding iron.
Well,
And
let's
first of
address
all,
that 'cause it's
let's
not
talk about
abusive.
how far we were actually dragging them. 15 yards,
If that.
Yeah.
if that.
5.
Maybe
And
even
the
less than that.
sand we
Some
were
of-
dragging them in was deep.
Deep.
I mean, the comments on our Instagram were acting like we would rope them and run them to the branding iron. And the whole time, it was just stretching them out, popping their backs, giving them rug burns. And they were just like coming up with all these wild theories of what it was doing to the calf.
Yeah, I agree. Those are all what people are saying, but you drag them in the soft sand, and if a rancher sees you take off on a cow or even rope it bad and get it roped not in the right way you should be doing it, you're off that horse and you're not roping again for the rest of the day. I have seen lots of kids get drug off a horse because they're not being correct etiquette in the branding pen, and that's a big deal to a lot of people to make sure you're treating the calves right in the branding pen.
Yeah. Well, and to answer your question about using the turntable opposed to roping, first off, we couldn't get that out there. We didn't have the facilities for that. And second, I think roping is actually way more ethical because it's faster. We get in there. The cows are pestered way less. You just rope them once, turn them out into a different pen, and then they go right back to their mom. Whereas with the chute, they're in those hot belt chutes for hours.
Pressed up against each other.
Yeah, and sometimes some will fall down and just get trampled to death. Whereas in the roping pen, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and if they don't walk up the chute, what do you got to do? You got to push them up there. A lot of people start kicking them, beating them to get up the
Shocking
chute.
them with the hot shot.
Yep. Roping them, you put a loop in front of their feet, pull it, they just kind of tip on their side, and they're ready to be branded.
Yep. And they're fast, low stress, right back to their mamas where they go and lick their lips, eat, and relax for the rest of the day.
They get that titty.
Alrighty. So I got another comment here. It's a funny one. I'd like to brand those ranchers. People are so cruel. The comment underneath it says they would kick your butt first.
And they didn't use the word butt.
No, they did not use
Thanks
the
for
word butt.
backing us.
Thank you, my man.
Yeah, we did get some awesome people in the comments defending us. And it's not they're defending us, they're defending our lifestyle.
They're defending their lifestyle.
Their lifestyle.
Yeah, and it gets
Yeah.
even better. I said, no, I would brand them first. And it said, big talk, man.
Big talk, man. Yeah. Yeah, what I was saying is, they're defending the cowboy lifestyle. And I feel like it's going to die off if we let people like that who are commenting
Push
kind
us
of,
around.
push laws and push whatever that's going to run out all the ranchers from
Yeah.
everywhere.
And that's kind of why we started this podcast, was to promote the Western way of life in a positive light and educate people on what we're actually doing.
Yep. And we're curious to see if you guys want to hear more stuff like this. We'd love to bring up more issues in today's ranching world that we think we could kind of shed some light on.
Yeah.
Let us know down in the comments if you want us to touch on more of these subjects. Okay, read us one more comment. We'll address it and move on.
Okay. Well, a lot of the comments that I read that night with you when we were on the phone, I think Instagram or you took them down.
I took down probably 10 comments, and they were like the extreme ones. Like telling me, I'm not even going to get into it. It's just crazy.
Don't want to address them.
It's just weird. Like, I feel like if we were to have a conversation, maybe with some of the people, we could talk it out a little bit, and maybe they wouldn't be like, I hope you die.
I want to brand you.
Yeah. Be like, dude, really? Like, this is... And then I know there's still some people out there who
But
do that to our
speaking
face.
of which, one of us here has branded themselves, so...
Yeah, I did.
In prison?
Yeah, in prison
So really...
with my prison shank.
Okay, let's move on. Later that night, we went out.
I thought you were talking about me.
Excuse you.
I thought you were talking about me.
How come you want to talk when it's not your 10 seconds, but when you have 10 seconds, you don't want to talk?
You just sit there in your chair.
I thought
Relax.
you were talking about me.
Real quickly, we're not going to go down this wormhole too long, but Daniel is about to drop this video about Cage. Tell us a little bit about that. Okay, blurt the name out. Intern. Insert intern.
Intern.
Let's just say, folks, he will take up 2 minutes of your time. We'll leave it at that.
All right, back to the podcast. So,
We'll take a short break.
okay, back to the podcast.
Okay.
Okay, I hope this podcast isn't too long for you guys at home because we've been talking for hours now.
This podcast has been fun, though.
Let's talk about when Eli's dad, Zane, got mad at me.
Oh, let's hear that.
I don't think he was mad at me, but it was like I was kind of getting like vibes that I might be in trouble. I might not. Like I might have done the wrong thing. So that night after we were done branding, I head out in the hills. And really I was just looking for sheds, but I brought my horse. I brought my rope just in case. I was like, you never know what you're going to find out here. Go walking around. And then I jumped this little calf all by himself, newborn, super fresh. And it jumps up, just takes off. I look around. His mom is nowhere in sight. I'm like, you know what? His mom's probably caught in the trap. That's my guess anyways, because where I was at, the forest was all dead. So you could just see out a long ways. No sign of mom. So I go roping, put them on my saddle. By the way, this is my most viewed TikTok for those of you who've seen it. Get back to the corral where Zane's at, and you guys are pairing up cows.
Yeah.
I bring him the calf. I'm like, hey, Zane, I found this calf up in the hills. I brought him down here. And he's like, looks at me. I'm like, oh, crap. Am I in trouble? And he goes, I bet his mom's out there. I'm like, oh, crap. I'm like, I swear I didn't see her. And I looked for a while. And I really didn't see her. And I could see her, like, everywhere out there. And he's like, well, just go put her in the corral. We'll see if she'll pair up. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry, Zane. I go put her in the corral. Did she pair up?
I think so. So you don't have nothing to worry about.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Nice.
At least
So-
the cow did claim her, so.
Okay, so you're on.
Old Todd claimed.
Old Todd, take care of her.
It's like Doug the mule, but Todd the cow. She's their milker.
We got a cat named. We have a cat named Karen. It's a guy.
An attitude.
We thought it was a girl, and then he got some wobbly bits.
Okay. So we're on. So we're on to the third night now, right?
I don't think quite yet.
No,
The
we got to
second
pull the
night.
night shift. Yeah, this is the third night. Second day, third night.
Yeah, exactly.
We're pulling a night shift. And we were worried these cows were going to start busting out of their pens, right? Did they usually bust out of the pens?
Yes.
Yeah, it has happened before.
So Zane was pretty paranoid, and he sent us all out on night shifts.
And once these cows get out, they hit those cedars and disappear.
And they had their fill of water, so they weren't going to come back for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel and I, we kind of lucked out. We took like a 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock shift. We were probably going to be up anyways.
So, of course, we stayed up.
Yeah, we just stayed up. And so we go walk the corral, take a couple laps. Everything was fine.
fence.
Hey, we got a couple cows in that night.
Cows in that night.
We were running around. I was in just basketball shorts. Probably Crocs. I don't know. We were running around in the cactus.
So not ready
With
if
rattlesnakes.
the cows were to break to get there fast.
Hey, we were ready. We got some cows in, boy.
Okay.
I put them in 4-wheel drive, and I was ready to go.
Okay.
Okay. So Daniel and I, we're walking the pens, right? And we're just sitting there talking to each other. We just got these cows in, and our shift was almost over. So we were hanging out kind of closer to camp.
We were checking on the horses because, like, one of them had
Because
rolled
Tick
or
got
something.
mounted, dude.
Oh, yeah.
My horse
Pal-
got mounted up.
Pal did the job.
So we were over checking them out. And freaking, all of a sudden, you tell the story.
So we're checking out Tick. We're like, what in the world? Like, her back was all wet. We hadn't been on her for hours. Kind of talking about it. We checked on the other horses, and all of a sudden I shine the light, and there's just eyes.
We're both like, whoa.
And he just stared at us.
He didn't even say hi or anything. He was just looking at us.
And he probably watched us for, probably 5 minutes? 'Cause
Yeah.
We kind of, like, saw him, and then we kept checking on the horses, and then we walked over to him, and the whole time he just stood there.
Yeah. We were like, if we don't shine the light on him, he's not there.
Then we finally walked up to him, and he's like, what are you guys doing? We're like, we're on patrol like Zane wanted.
He pretty much didn't trust us to be on patrol. Can you believe that?
Really?
Can you believe that
Is this
crap?
is this one of the day hands out there?
Eli?
It wasn't Kyle.
Yeah, it wasn't Kyle. I think it was his cousin, brother, something like that.
Yeah.
All the
So
above.
pretty much, I think what went down that night is all of us got schedules to go out and monitor the fences, and then their whole group got the same schedule, but they probably trusted them a little more. Like they were out there to make sure we were doing it.
We were dealing with Corby and Joey, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you get those two together, the brain cells just go down.
The story gets better.
Okay.
We start walking back to camp. We're a little freaked out. We might have ran back to camp. It was dark. I'm just
phone
kidding.
died.
We walked back. We roll up. Eli's the next shift. We don't know, though. The schedule was so messed up. We would just wake up whoever and be like, go look at the cows.
Eli sleeping in his front bench seat of the truck. His feet are clear up at the ceiling. and his head down by the pedals.
His head was freaking looked like a grape, man. It was red and big. And he was out of it when we started knocking on the window.
Yeah, I remember
He's probably
like
about dead from blood rushing to his head.
that blood flow.
we
He's a
started,
vampire.
we started shining the lights in his eyes because he would not wake up.
Were the doors locked? Could we not get in there?
He locked them on us.
Oh yeah, you guys woke me up. I was like,
He's like, I'm not getting this night shift.
It's like, go wake up Joey.
And he like argued with us for like 10 minutes about
Half your shift was arguing.
it was like what? When was your shift? Like 12?
1 to 2, I think.
who
1 to
knows
2.
the time zones
like-
out
Yeah, I
there
don't
were
know.
so messed up.
It's like 2
Yeah.
o'clock.
We need to touch on that.
Because
It had Nevada time, like Arizona time and Utah time.
Yeah.
And so it was all messed up. There was like 3 different hours people were going off of.
yeah, Zane scheduled it like on Arizona time, and Daniel and I went off Utah time, and somebody else was going off Nevada time. So it was messed up because we lost service, so our phone didn't know we were in
Oh, so
Arizona.
it didn't update? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we just look at our clock and be like, "Oh, well, it's time to go back." And then be like, "Dude, I just got back too." But yeah, so when we were waking up Eli, he rolls over and he's just been sleeping on the seatbelt.
Oh, my back.
Oh, goodness.
Brett's over there.
This is the wildest podcast I've ever been a part of.
You missed out on a good trip. If you think this podcast was wild, you should have been there.
Yeah.
You were not safe in camp.
No.
I'll leave it at that.
Pop, pop, pop.
I don't want to get demonetized, so we're not going to get into it. But you had a safety first, boys.
Let's
Safety
just say-
first.
Let's just say Corby likes to
likes to shoot
likes
rabbits.
to show off.
Don't sneak up on him in the middle of the night.
Corey's got a
Or don't
PG
ride
and he
next to him.
loves to use it.
Don't ride to his right side.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyways. So it's my shift. You know, wake up, my back is aching. I'm like, oh man, I only have to deal with what 40 minutes of this. So get up. You know, I don't change my clothes. Just slide my Crocs on. Start walking around. I get my phone out. Start playing some Crime Junkie. If no one knows what that is, that's like a murder podcast. So I'm like walking around the
Free plug. Good job, guys.
walking around the pen like 4 times, and then the episode ends. I'm like freaking out. I'm like,
Thought a serial killer was after you.
anyways, okay. So I get my shift done. I'm like, okay, who would I have to wake up? I think it was Casey. And I was like, went to his trailer, knocked on the door. Casey, nothing. Casey, nothing. Like shake his foot. He's like, huh? I was like, Casey, it's your shift. He's like, what? Pulls out his phone. It's like, it's 4 o'clock. And I was like, no, it's 3 o'clock, dude. Your shift's at 3. And he's like, no, mine's at 4. And I was like, whatever. Just do your shift right now and wake up Joey after. Wake up Joey or Corby after. And he's like, okay. So yeah, he does that. I think Joey and Corby did it together because Casey woke them both up. Joey's like, I didn't even sign up a shift. Like, all right, so they're up at like the last shift. They're going like nonstop. I think they started that.
They started at like 3 o'clock and went all day.
started at,
Wait, 3 o'clock Utah time, or what are we saying here?
Whatever time.
yeah, started off at 3 and went the whole time. But yeah, what happened the next
They
day?
sure rubbed it in our faces too the next day.
Yeah, they were a bit salty.
They were. We
I
probably
didn't feel
could have.
bad, those radio heads.
Yeah, payback. Oh, it's 3 in the morning, eh? That means it's 3 in the afternoon in Australia. Wake up.
Okay, so we're on to the third day. I just keep bringing you guys back in. Okay, so we're on to the third day.
My favorite day of the whole trip. It was freaking so much fun. The big cattle drive day. And it started off with the absolute banger of a video.
Yeah, we did a quick gather,
Yeah.
and then Zane was pretty stressed out this day.
Most stressful day of the trip by far.
He started. These guys went off after some cows, and just as they headed out, he called us back saying, "Just leave her, just leave her."
We didn't leave her.
But they didn't listen. And they were gone forever. And we're getting ready to go, and Zane's waiting around for him. He's like, "I need these guys' help. Where are they? I need their help." Finally, he's just like, "We can't wait any longer. We just got to go." And so he gives us the lowdown. He's like, "All right, guys, we have got to keep these cows out of the cedars." And so he lined us up. We first pulled all the trucks and trailers around and made like a runway almost with them. And then we parked a guy in each hole. And then we had just a line of cowboys off the side that went into the cedars. And we're just about ready to get turned out. And old Darian, I look over, and he's hoofing it back to us. And I'm like, "Weren't you just on your horse?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then I'll turn it over to Tyler.
Okay. So Corby and I, we go to gather these cows. And I could see why Zane was stressed out. Because we take off after these, little stragglers. And we heard people yelling, but we didn't know what they were saying. I guess it was Zane calling us back. But we didn't listen. I don't know. We couldn't really hear. And we start just chasing these cows through the cedars. And it started as a freaking cow chase. But it ended as a horse chase. Because on our way back, we lost the cows. And on our way back, we just hear this. It sounded like thunder almost. It was the loudest crashing noise just coming through the tree. And we're like, "Dude, there's cows right there. But why are they running so fast? What's chasing them?" We were so confused, and none of our GoPros were running or anything. I missed this on the video, but it just runs. This horse just comes barreling through the trees, runs straight up to us. Corby and I just look at each other, turn on our GoPros, and start chasing it. And it was still bucking when it ran up to us. And at this point, dude, before we even roped the horse, the saddle was just getting messed up through these trees. He was trying to rub it off, running right under the thickest crap. The horse gets out to the road and just takes off running down this road. Corby and I get out on the road. We take off after it. We chased it probably half mile or so. And as we were running down the road, we finally caught up to it, and Corby throws a loop. It was just a little short, and it fell down onto the saddle. It caught the horse's saddle horn. So he dallies up tight on it, and he tries slowing this horse down so my slow horse could catch up and rope. And I chucked my loop, and it doesn't look like it on the GoPro, but I threw a lot of line out, and I was just a hair short. It didn't go over the nose. So I missed, and as I'm rebuilding my loop to throw again, there's a cattle guard in front of us on the road. And so I don't know, not a lot of you guys, I bet, have been in the situation, but when a horse is running full steam away from you, it doesn't matter if there's a cattle guard in the road. He's going to go straight through it, and it's probably not going to end up very good. Like, that's a bad situation to be in. So we had
smart until there's a gum wrapper.
Or a balloon in this case. And so we kind of had the option of just letting go of the horse, seeing what happens. Hopefully he just jumps over it, or he's smart enough to stop, which we were kind of betting he wasn't. And maybe he turns up the fence line and doesn't run over it, but it just wasn't looking good. So Corby just dallies up to slow this horse down. And as I'm still rebuilding my loop, I can't rope him and slow him down too. So I just have to get in front of the horse and herd him off the road. And as that happens, the horse runs around one side of the tree. Corby goes around the other side of the tree, and Corby just gets freaking slammed. And he kept his dally. He told me later he was trying to pop it off, but it was too late because it was just, he had a lot of rubber on his horn, and I think his coils had gone over each other. So it was just, pretty much like a knot. And as they both slammed that tree, the saddle just popped right off the horse. Sounded like a gunshot. Freaking wildest video I've ever caught. It was my favorite video I've probably made in the last year. It was so much fun. I mean, probably not for the guy who broke his saddle, but for us, it was a lot of fun seeing Corby get mucked out in a tree.
It's a hard.
Yeah. But
Oh, man.
So how'd you end up getting that horse caught? I kind of missed that in the video.
yeah, my GoPro died,
Okay.
but I ended up chasing it for a while, and Corby chased it for a while. We both missed another loop, but this horse was fast because he had no rider. He was freaking built, and he finally was getting tired out. We were running him down a fence line, and we got him in a pretty good corner, and I just chucked a loop and caught him. And then he led back pretty good. Tick was in heat, and it was a freaking stud we were leading back. So I got behind it with the rope, and Corby was in front of it with the rope, and we just let him stay in the middle of us because he was riding a mare too.
Yeah.
And so while all this was going down, like Daniel was saying, Zane was getting stressed out because it was a really crucial part of the cattle drive, and we just had disappeared forever.
You're all Tweedledee and Tweedledum are just gone.
Yeah,
Exactly.
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 Hey, but if we hadn't have ran off after that cow, that guy's horse would have just been gone. So it's a good thing. It all worked out.
It all worked out.
We might have broke a saddle, but we got him his horse back.
And we had an extra saddle for him to use, so he still got to participate.
Did he ride that horse for the rest of the day?
Yeah, I think he rode a little portion of it, but and then he was like, I'm out of here, and left
Yeah.
because I think he was pretty upset about the saddle. But
Oh, man. I feel bad because I've been posting a lot about it.
but
What are you going to do? We all get in wrecks.
But yeah, so we ended up loading the calves into a trailer. And then Zane pulled out in front. And then he was like, all right, boys, let them go. And they kind of came barreling out of there. They were ready to go, but we were able to get somebody out in front. And they kind of slowed down. But then they started looking for holes. And one cow jumped in between the trailer and a truck and was headed for the trees. We got it, turned around, brought it back. Everything was kind of going nuts. And then Zane's like, all right, bring them. And we were able to get him trailed out and headed down the road.
That went pretty smooth.
Yeah, it went a lot smoother than I expected.
It'd only take just one or two cows to bust out and run through the cedars, and then all the rest of them would have followed, though. So we did a good job of keeping them on the right side of the road.
yeah, it was a good thing my dad was in that semi, and we threw all the calves in the back of it, and all those cows were wanting to get with their calves, so it kind of made a good
Gave him the
straight
direction.
Yeah,
That was big brain moves. Big brain.
Yeah, because that's usually a problem on the drives is a bunch of calves hanging back and then mama's coming back and looking for it, or calves going back and looking for their mama.
Well,
Usually causes a wreck on our mounds.
Another dilemma that we had was, I think, was it 2 cattle guards down or just 1? But it was a different permit, and they still had cows out there.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So then we had to almost like flip sides of what we should have been on to keep those cows and the Corianis separated. And it was kind of hard. Like, I had to run out and chase a bunch of cows off, and they did not want to go.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
while we were doing all this, we had, the Coriani cows trying to run back all the way back to where we had them in the beginning, too. So we had to make sure everything was pushed forward and, separate them from those other beef cows.
Yeah. It was pretty intense there for a minute. The first half of the day, it went smoothly, but everybody was on edge the whole time.
And you couldn't just sit there and like cattle drives where they're just going down the road and you're just kind of like there. You were like doing something.
It didn't take us long to run into probably the biggest problem of the day, the biggest bummer of the day anyways. We get these cows down the road. We get them almost off the neighbor's place, and we get them to a good place to water, right?
Yeah.
And there was like a little corral there, a little fence we could kind of hold them in, but it wasn't much of a fence. And you guys want to kind of explain what happened?
So this cow kind of got really sulky, and she just kind of started laying down. And we'd let him watered. We took a little water break, had a little bit of snacks. And Zane's like, all right, let's go. He jumps in the semi and starts going down. So we start getting these cows up and start pushing them back to the road, and this cow would not. She just kept laying down. And I was like, this cow's going to give birth. And then she got up and took off. Like, she just like jumped up and took off. And I was like, maybe not. And then I had to get back to my post that was clear in the front. So I hustled on up and take it from there, boys.
So we had these cows. Well, they were stringing out onto the road already, going through a gate. And that cow kind of got left in the back. And we're like, oh, dude, she is giving birth. We're like, crap. Well, there's a corral right there. Let's see if we can get her in that corral. But it wasn't like there was no great way of getting her in there. Mm-hmm. And so this cow just drops her calf, doesn't even look down at it, hardly sniffs it at all. She might have licked it once. I don't even know if she did that.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to be left behind from the main herd, so she just takes off. And there were still a few of us there, and we tried our best to keep her cornered. And somebody left their post at the gate, and she just slipped right through and started just running as fast as she could. You know, there were so many things we probably could have done in the situation, but there was a few of us that chased after her with our ropes, and we all missed, which was a bummer. And after we started chasing her a little bit, she just got off course from the main herd, lost the main herd, and just took off in a random direction. And she was gone. Like those thick cedars, like we've been talking about, it's easy to weave and lose us. And so now we're left with this calf that's just laying there, and their mom's nowhere in sight, and we're in the middle of nowhere. We're not even on their permit anymore. We're like, what are we going to do? The boss man's already taken off. Half the hands have already taken off. There was only a few of us left, and we were just in this bad situation that just sucked. And we ended up looking for a couple hours, right?
Yeah.
And we looked everywhere. We tried our dangest to find her, and we never found her. You guys probably been back and found her by now, but
Yeah, I think Kyle went back a couple
punchy
days
son of a
later.
gun.
Went back a
hand.
couple days later, and I think he got her rounded up. But the problem with that was she didn't really want to take care of the calf at all, even though we got her again. But with the calf, luckily we had Kyle's cousin, pull in with the Wilson trailer, and we were able to throw the calf in there and then catch up back with the herd.
Yep. So it's just kind of a bummer. I brought up in my YouTube video, I addressed some of the haters on the subject, and it's just hard to hear people say, hey, look, there's no situation where you should ever rope that cow. That is abuse, and there's, I can't think of one situation where you should be able to rope that thing. And if you do rope that thing, I hope you die. Then start just sending me death threats. And this situation, if one of us had got a loop on that cow, we could have prevented the whole thing from happening. That calf would have a mom. She would have got the colostrum she needed when she was born. For those of you who don't know what colostrum is, it contains antibodies and is super important when a calf's first born for their immune system.
It's crucial.
Yep.
That first nursing is really, really crucial.
And doesn't it kind of make them look like a doggy? Like a bummer calf?
Yeah, a bunch of bottle calves just look poor, don't they?
We call them dogies or bummer calves or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like we were saying earlier, we do care. And it's hard, because that's just the biggest loss you can take. It just sucks. Personally, you're like, dude, I could have prevented this if I could have just roped that cow. And like we were saying earlier, there's not really good corrals or fences out there because you're in the middle of nowhere. So you're telling me that's abuse to rope that cow, even though she abandoned her calf. So it's hard because she's following her instinct. She's an animal, and she would have rather stayed with the herd than her calf. She just would have left it to die. So I don't know. We could get into it as much as we want. Maybe we'll keep this podcast a little more lighthearted. But I think it is important we talk about some of these subjects in the future. And let us know down in the comments if you think we should talk about stuff like this. I don't know. Do you guys have anything on the subject you want to add in?
Yeah, we weren't intentionally, we don't ever intentionally hurt our animals. We're just trying to do what's best for them and keep them alive and productive and healthy.
Yep.
Yeah, if you didn't miss so much, maybe this would have been prevented. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Dude, for real.
I had to try to lighten the mood.
I don't think I chucked a rope, though. I don't think I was even cowboy enough to get a shot on her.
Happens
So-
sometimes, man.
Yeah, she was hauling butt.
Well, and
She
this
was
time of
hauling.
day, you'd already chased a stallion.
Yeah.
You've chased wild cows. And then we'd been running around chasing off neighboring cows or chasing ones back into the herd. So our horses were pretty tired.
It was probably like a 3-horse kind of day that you fit into one.
What did we
Horse.
end up going, 15 miles?
Yeah, so where we were at probably right then would probably be about halfway, 8 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say the cows are walking 8 miles. We're walking further because we're having to.
Go
Run
back.
back and
and forth.
forth.
But okay, here's another thing I want to add.
we get a lot of crap on the channel because we post both the good and the bad. And sometimes the bad makes better videos. And we're not afraid to show you guys, you know, the accidents that happen on our ranch or whatnot. And that's where a lot of people, I don't know, people just assume accidents don't happen and we have to do everything perfectly their way.
They're too used to seeing the perfect side of everything on the internet. Like, the internet is a very perfect place. So when they see the accidents, they assume we're bad or something's not there.
Yeah. And I wish I could post more of the good days, you know? But when a cattle drive just goes perfectly fine, nothing happens, it's really a boring video.
Those aren't the days you remember. The days you remember are the longest, sweatiest sons of days ever.
Nice filter.
Yeah. I don't know. We just get a lot of crap on our channel.
Get a lot of crap and we hate it.
When an accident happens, we're not afraid to post it. That's the difference between us and a lot of people, I think.
That's the difference between us and every other Western. I won't call them out like that.
Yeah.
Texaners.
Texans haven't seen a wreck in a day of their life.
What is funny about that?
What do you say? Hey,
Did you just say?
He said he wanted to be called Kylie.
Oh, I thought he said Kyle. I was like, don't disgrace Kyle's name like that. I'm just kidding.
We love our interns out here. We're not bullies in any ways.
It's just a little fun hazing.
He brings it on himself.
Dude, I don't know. I was just in all the wrecks that day for some reason. Maybe I'm the common denominator.
Common denominator.
Okay, so this cow turns back from the herd, and Corby and I, we're running the GoPros. So we're like, okay, this is going to be good footage. Let's go rope this cow. And it'd been turning around all freaking day. It must have thought its calf was back at the krill or something. It didn't get the memo that her calf was up in the trailer in front. So after probably the 20th time it's turned around, it was kind of getting tired, and it would just sulk clear back behind the herd and hide. So we're like, it's time we just rope this sucker and come back for it with the trailer. So the very last time it turned around, it just took off running. And I was the first one to get a rope on it. We roped it. Corby comes behind me. He gets the second rope on it. And we try getting her back to the herd, but she didn't want anything to do with that. So we tied her down in the middle of the road so the trailer could come get her.
Yeah.
And we made a couple TikToks doing that. One of the TikToks, we were just sitting there, and randomly, Corby's like, hey, I'm a little thirsty. So I point the camera at him. He just grabs one of the teats and squirts it, and it hits him right in the eyeball. And so then we were like, yeah, I'm thirsty too. So we all just lined up and started drinking milk. And we were thirsty.
Was the milk good? Did it taste like regular milk in any way, or is beef cow milk different than dairy cow milk?
It tasted... Well, okay, here's the thing. We didn't have coolers out on the Arizona Strip, so we'd been chugging hot water bottles the whole time. And that milk was colder than the hot water bottle I had. So it tasted like pretty good. Like, it tasted like regular milk. I'm sure, though, if you just went out there right now and you've been drinking ice cold milk for the last week, you know, you'd take a shot of that and you'd be like, oh. But since we'd just been drinking hot water, hot liquid the whole time, that warm milk tasted pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
That was the burning question. I've always wondered that. So it's
Wasn't
good.
bad. Wasn't bad at all.
We got an answer now.
It was creamy. It was really creamy.
It was 100% whole milk, baby.
Straight out the teat. Not fresher than that in the world.
Yes, sir.
It wasn't a bowl.
Texas approved.
All right, I'm done with that story.
All right. So, should we talk about the trip home, or are we gonna be done?
Let's just briefly hit it.
Yeah, because it's not that
Because
interesting.
so first off, everything went well. Got the cows home. Went back, got the trucks. It was pretty late at this point, probably 10. It was dark.
Yeah, we were tired.
We helped them load the semis, and then we get on our way, and we probably got like 10 miles down the road, and Corby was following us behind, and we look back, and he's just gone. And they made it 10 miles, and they forgot their saddles clear back.
They forgot the freaking saddles.
Joey and Corby?
Corby and Byron. Well, it was the one that Darian used.
Oh, yeah?
He put it there, and then for some reason we had another saddle just dumped right there. and they forgot both of them.
Was it the saddle? Was it the saddle he was supposed to fix?
Yeah,
Supposed
it was the saddle he was supposed to fix.
Supposed.
And
Supposed.
and then Byron's champion bronc riding saddle.
Yeah, and then it didn't end there.
No, it escalated from there.
Whoa.
So there's like there was a caravan that came out of there. If we could have filmed it, it was so cool because there was like 3 semis and then 6 pickup trucks. I think I counted.
With stock trailers on back.
Yeah, all coming out of there. We pull into this gas station, and Zane's like, he's in a pretty good mood. He's filling us up. He's like, guys, this was such a success. And he gets this phone call, and his face just kind of like drops, and he's just like, oh no. And he starts trying to call all the mechanics around, and one of the semis blew a tire, and then something else happened to it.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I'm not exactly sure what happened, but, something went wrong with it.
Because there was another semi behind us that was coming from further down the canyon. And coming out, it blew a tire and broke down. And so Zane is scrambling. And by this point, it's already 11 o'clock.
Yeah, guess what we did when this happened?
What?
Went to B-dubs.
Yep.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything we could do, though.
What town are you in?
St. George.
So we eat at B-dubs. We get done at B-dubs at what? 1 o'clock?
Something like that.
And we start trucking home, and I got out of Tyler's truck and started driving the other pickup truck because Corby had been going since 3. and Joe was not gonna drive. And
See, they shouldn't have gave us crap for sleeping in because we stayed up all night driving their butts home.
we sent it too.
So why did a hotel room not cross your guys' head in any way?
We had
Because
ponies in back.
Ponies in the back.
You think we're going to put him in the hotel room with us?
I've actually done that before. I've turned my ponies loose in my trailer and just went in and spent the night.
We get to about Richfield, and then Tyler just starts losing his mind. And we searched for a gas station that was open for 30 minutes. We drove around looking for a gas station.
I don't know how I lasted that long. I had to go then. I had to go there. And it was one you needed a toilet for. It wasn't one you could just pull over on the side of the road. I didn't want it running down my legs. Take that out.
Yeah, Zane Cook at the Arizona Strip.
Oh my gosh. I ate raw hamburger on their Arizona Strip. I had freaking, who was it?
Bye, Joe.
Byron made me hamburgers. I bit into it. Pink. I was like, I'm so hungry. I'm just going to finish it.
Yeah. It was pretty raw.
Okay, so I run out of the gas station. I've been in there forever. And I get out to the truck. I open the door. I'm like, Corby was asleep, so I pulled out my phone to record him. Whip it out on him. He just sits up like he has no idea where he's at, and he's losing his mind. We'll roll the clip right here. It was so funny, though.
4 a.m. Corby can't hang. Holy crap, dude.
It was one of the funniest sleep scares I've ever seen.
And then, made it on
Yeah.
home.
Okay, yeah. So I dropped Daniel off at his place when the sun was coming up. And then I had another half-hour drive from his place. By the time I got home, turned my horses loose and everything, Brittany had already woke up for the day. And she was like, oh, hey, you made it. Like, everybody was starting their work day. And I was like, I didn't sleep last night. I'm going to bed.
We leave Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm like, okay, Joey, you've been up since what, 3 o'clock in the morning. So, I'll drive. I'll drive the rest of the way. And the whole way up, he's on his phone. He's not sleeping at all. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And we get maybe like 2 hours from where we live. And I'm getting tired, and I'm like, okay, Joey, I think you should drive for a little bit, just for a little bit, so I could close my eyes. And, I closed my eyes for maybe 30 minutes, and I stayed awake the rest of the time because he was like, in the road strips. And I'm like, okay, you want to switch or something? And he didn't say anything. And then I'm like staying awake. And all of a sudden, I just see the truck go, start hitting all the bushes on the side. And I go over, grab the wheel, pull it back on the road. And Joey's like this. He's like, And I'm like, dude, you okay? And he's like, oh, I just fell asleep. I was like, obviously. But we made it back, and yeah, I slept great that night.
That day.
That day. That morning.
Hey guys, I think we're gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. If you've watched this podcast the whole way through, you might as well like and subscribe because we're gonna bring you these podcasts weekly. And Eli, where can we find you?
You can find me at The Average Cowboy, YouTube.
Brett, where can we find you?
Brett_Olson across all platforms.
Daniel?
You can find me at the Bronx and Donks Extended Channel 2 and also on TikTok and Instagram at Dan Bronx and Donks.
And of course, watch the Bronx and Donks main YouTube channel. We upload almost weekly there. And we'll catch you next week on another episode of Donkey Tales.